Welcome back. Today we're approaching another steam rally, and it's pretty busy already. It's the Welland Steam Rally 2016. Public transport here. As usual at Welland, plenty of steam. More steam. I'm walking on the back side because there's so many people on the other side. Hardly can see anything because the trucks are actually going into the arena at the moment.
Ford D series, 1978. That was quite a revolution when it came along, taking over from the earlier Ford model, the Thames Trader, with that lovely, comfortable flat-floored cab.
And one of the features of that D series is that it has the six-cylinder Ford engine inclined to the left as a sloper to make that flat-floored cab possible.
That's followed by a nice little Ford pickup rather, I beg your pardon, 1947 E83W pickup.
With that body on it, Andrew, you can imagine in the typical sort of overload that certain versions would have used, there wouldn't have been much weight on the steering.
No, it was probably loaded before you started putting anything in it. Little Morris drop side truck, 1948.
This is carrying a Perkins engine badge as well, so we assume that it's been re-engined at some time from petrol to diesel. And Perkins of Peterborough used to sell the whole package. You could buy an engine with all the correct conversion plates, brackets, engine mountings and other fittings to be able to take the original petrol engine out of almost any light commercial in this country and fit a Perkins engine in its place.
Austin J4 pickup, 1974. There were a lot of those around in their heyday, but like a lot of that sort of era of vehicles, they suffered badly with the tin worm, and of course then disappeared quite quickly. Another nice little Ford B series there, Mr. Morgan on board. These, of course, were very popular with the muckaway men, weren't they, for working on sites. They had a remarkable ability to travel in very difficult conditions.
A little short wheelbase 10-ton tipper was absolutely the epitome of that sort of wagon, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Bedford WLG, known as the removals van. Again, you can see, although it's Bedford, you can see the American influence that comes from the owners of Bedford, of course, with that long bonnet and relatively narrow cab, which is classic and still is classic American style of truck, isn't it?
Yes. The very early Bedfords were actually still badged as Chevrolets, were they not, Andrew? And this would be one of the very early ones that was badged as a Bedford, which is what the name General Motors chose for their commercial vehicle operation in this country.
Another comma supervisor, you don't see that many of them. This one registered first 1964, and it was working in Bournemouth. Originally it had a big Luton body on. Now, a Luton body is a box body with the front extended over the cab. So-called Luton because Luton was the home of hats, and that's where they invented this idea to get more hats in the truck.
Because when you're carrying hats, you're basically carrying air with very little else. So weight isn't a consideration, but space is. And that is why the Luton body, with the extension of the load carrying over the top of the cab, came into being.
Very handsome truck, just creeping quietly past now. ERF-LV, undoubtedly with a gardener. I didn't see what was poking out the back of the cab, but I should think it to be a 6LX.
6LX, 150 horsepower, yes. David Brown box and Kirkstall back end, double drive, which means that both the back axles are driven from the top shaft to give greater traction both on and off the road.
Nice Leyland there now, one of the later Leylands, as you might say, the last Leyland cab really, the Cruiser, which was the slightly, I think that would be the lower horsepower tractor unit they built, didn't they? They didn't go bigger than that.
With the land trade would have been the
road trade,
the biggest engine one, yes. That's the T45 cab, which was, and they did a smaller version of it for the 7.5 to 12 tonners, didn't they?
They did, yes, you're absolutely right.
Mentioning going home in the Bowden FG, here it is. This is 1954 FG short wheelbase tractor, ballast tractor, built for British Railways. They used to buy small batches of these pretty well every year, and Bowdens were the principal post-war suppliers to the railways for local distribution from the railheads. And it's towing a Carrymore six-wheeler off North Finchley made four-wheel trailer, typical lorry drag of the post-war era, and with a very nice Series 1 Land Rover as the load.
I think that's another Bowden two-stroke arriving.
That is another Bowden two-stroke. This is the 1964 S20 cab two-stroke timber tractor, which was new to TT Bowden. It was the last timber tractor ever to come out of the Bowden factory. The only one they ever fitted with the two-stroke. So that's three two-strokes we've enjoyed so far this morning, yes. Andrew. We are being privileged today, as an old friend of mine, yours and mine in timber, remarked to me a year or two ago when I told him it had a two-stroke in it. He just said, "Oh dear."
I remember John Garman's story about the chap that drove for Dick Woolley in one, and he put him on the Monday morning, and about Thursday, John said, "How are you getting on?" He said, "Well, I'm eating again now." There's a Bedford TK just gone past in ballast box form. Now, that, of course, when that cab came on those Bedfords, that was an absolute revolution with his huge windscreen after the tiny little porthole windows in the previous model. So, as was described by a man when he first saw one, he said it's got a windscreen like a shop window.
And as we've discussed earlier about the ergomatic cab being our favourite cab, I have to say, with extreme prejudice, I think the TK cab is my least favourite.
Yes. Well, when you're my shape, the steering wheel's permanently wearing a hole in his shirt. AEC Mammoth Major, there, flatbed. Again, from the sort of AEC stable at Southall, all gone now, sadly, but they were thoroughly sound, reliable old plodders, and a lot of Ford companies would have built their business on reliable old trucks like that.
My old friend Andrew Bird from Malton, there he is. Morning, Andrew, nice to see you. With his delightful Morris commercial. Again, I was talking about with the Austin K2 about how this sort of motor was very popular with the building fraternity. Well, Andrew has been one of our best roofing contractors in the district for more years than I care to remember, and he uses it in his business on occasion, and you can see it's beautifully turned out. It would have been in the 1950s for somebody in that trade.
Volvo 88. Now, this was the sort of offering that came in and really put the skids under the British truck business, British truck builders. I mean, there was a truck you could drive in your shirt sleeves in January, turn the heater up, beautifully quiet, comfortable car, good bed in the back and so on. And it was 290 horsepower, which was a hell of a lot of power when you were considering we were fighting with a 180 Gardner or something of that sort. On the John Weaver stable there, lovely Spanish Dodge, as they're so often called.
The cab was I think they called it Commander cab. It was from Pegasus anyway. It was a Spanish design. Quite a rare motor even in its heyday. It was nice to see one in restored order being presented to us.
The Bowden. Now, I'm not sure which model this is, because in the latter days of the Bowden, they all looked a bit the same to me.
and their number.
I'm sorry, it's turning the pages. 4350 tractor units.
Their numbering is quite well, I think, Andrew. So you can be excused not being spot on with the identification of it.
Really what you're looking at there is sort of the last knockings of British truck manufacture. Great shame, but there we are.
And it'll be engined with either a Cummins or a Caterpillar. Bowden's were the only manufacturer in this country to adopt Caterpillar engines in large numbers for road haulage, but had quite a lot of luck with them, I think.
Yes, I don't think they were terribly popular in the end. Little Thames Trader there. Now, a lot of people associate the Thames Trader with that unique style cab that they adopted on the bigger ones, but in fact, smaller bonneted versions were also called Trader.
Team Hadley are coming round now. The lead vehicle of their two is the AEC Militant six-wheeler, was built for military use in the late 1950s into the 60s and is now being used for as a flatbed bolster wagon with a crane on it for carrying round timber, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen. And that's followed by the AEC Matador. We've already mentioned one Matador that was in recovery, guys. And this one is set up as a timber tractor. It's been in the owner's business as a working machine for many, many years. Local to me, just the other side of the hill. So you can now see the contrast between a recovery Matador, which almost invariably had a special coach-built crew cab, and the timber tractor version, which would have had the original cab like this, the AEC cab, with the jib, the anchor. All Matadors were fitted with a turner winch, so the conversion didn't require the fitting of another winch, and they were, without doubt, I would say, the most successful post-war timber tractor for extraction and loading that came out of World War II's four-wheel drive surplus.
There's probably still quite a few at work in the forest, but it's important to remember that that's pre-war technology. It's 1930s technology, isn't it?
Scammell Explorer. These were built by Scammell of Watford for the Army as their principal recovery tractor in the 1950s, and because the British Army had standardised on petrol after their experiences of having to cope with the logistics of two different fuels, petrol and diesel, during the war, they chose petrol as the sole power source, and so these were all re-engined with the Scammell Meadows 6PC 630 motor, which was Scammell's variant of a Meadows diesel. Sounds very complicated, but basically it produced a very powerful but extremely thirsty petrol engine. It didn't matter, of course, because the chance of exchequer was wrong.
Steam coming along here. It's quite busy here. Lots of vehicles going back and forth here. A bit different to other places. This is a nice Showman's genset, Ruston. Nicely done. I'm not much going for the military section, it's just not my interest here. But that's a nice setup here. Nicely done. Plenty of military vehicles here. Go to the flea market, which is used today. It's always used here. It's one of the reasons why I like going here. So we managed to see the Gardner engine running. The Gardner 3C5 boat engine. And the funny thing on those is, to reverse the boat, you reverse the engine. At least that's what I've been told. we go a bit closer. And section now. Plenty to see here. Big one. Blackstone Welland Steam. This one. Read the label, so I don't need to do it for you. And that appears to be a new one. I've not seen that before. St. Ruston and Hornsby. Nice one. Fergie tractor. Again, plenty of military stuff there, but I'm not really interested, so I'm not going to go there. More engines. Old turbines. Not that I film them all, but certainly a few highlights. Blackstone, Welland Steam. Nice presentation. More engines. 1899 built. He's going to run one of those. For us. Great. Fantastic.
Need the dip for the petrol?
Yeah. Great. Fantastic. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Yeah, that was great. He was proud of his models, obviously. And very nice presentation of a gasoline engine. We've got some more stuff here. Broccoli. Another hit and miss engine. So if you watch the valve, it's not firing, now it's firing. That's how they control the speed. That's 1900s technology. Alright, that was the intersection. As usual, Welland is full of steam. And all these engines are in steam.
Some of these, there's 3 rollers and they rode at 180 miles per hour.
Everything is here. Yeah, let's look after one of these Showman's engines. Some of them are actually powering the fairground attractions here. That's Margaret holding it. Just imagine the time and effort going into these engines here. It's huge. All the fairground attractions. This is actually running. What they do, the steam engine is powering a generator, and the generator obviously drives the showground attraction. By the sound of it, it's just powering the lights. It's lighting up now. This is running. Steamroller just passing by here. Running as well. The amount of Showman's engines here at Welland is just amazing. This one sounds like it's doing something serious. Come to it in a minute. And apparently this is doing 110 volts and about 180 amps. He's polishing it. Fancy. Great engine. Apparently, I think there's some cables going down here that's powering one of the attractions here. Yeah. Don't worry. It's just going on YouTube. Okay, apparently the guy who was cleaning it wasn't the owner. I was asking if he wanted to talk about it, but he pulled back. Got quite a few of those here. Got some more. Just got a roller running through the public. I like that. Welland here. Nice model. Apparently, this Showman's engine is powering something here. I don't know. It's only 5 ounces or so, but what it does. Where the Showman got the power from. Right, let's carry on to the tractors and maybe motorbikes. That's quite a nice setup. They running a steam-powered water pump, so the steam comes off the boiler and powers that water pump. And from the river behind there. It's a little bit bigger than your average truck. It's actually huge. rolling. So I need to find a good spot. Here we are. Listen to that engine.
Awesome. In the meantime, I said I didn't know who belonged to. I can now introduce you to Ben Ryder.